next for Big Red's Army.
And reporter Gina Kleinekrock will join us later in the show to talk about the action over the WKU softball complex this weekend.
The Extra Point.
How's it? Welcome into the Extra Point. I'm Noah McGee.
And I'm Jillian Ryan.
And Jillian, first show of the semester, first show of this decade. Now I got to close out this decade and start this one, so I'm pretty excited to get this show going. What about you?
And this is my first full Extra Point show, so it's an honor doing it with you.
Yeah, I know. Honored to get you broken into the Extra Point. Now let's say we talk about these sports a little bit.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Last week, the Western Kentucky Hilltopper men's basketball team finished up regular season conference play on the road as they looked to knock off the UTSA Roadrunners before the start of bonus play. Last season, the Hilltoppers and Roadrunners needed overtime to declare a winner 3 times. This time, the outcome was no different. WKU pushed their lead out to as much as 12 points, but UTSA's Keaton Jackson netted 25 points as the Roadrunners battled back to take a 2-point lead late in the second half. Junior tops guard Tavion Hollingsworth dropped in a runner at the end of regulation to tie it at 64 going into the overtime period. The Tops held the nation's second leading scorer, Javon Jackson, to 8 of 24 from the field with 5 consecutive misses to end the overtime period. Warren Central alum Jared Savage was an absolute savage on the backboards, hauling in a career-high 16 rebounds to go with 24 points en route to a double-double. The Tops also stepped to the charity stripe and hit 25 of 32 free throws, including 6 straight makes from the line to secure second place in Conference USA with a 77-73 win. After the game, Tavion Hollingsworth talked to the media about how the Tops turned UTSA misses into transition buckets on the other end.
It started with defense. We had to just get stops and rebound for sure. The most thing that we was trying to focus on was them not getting offensive rebounds because that sets up their main scorers. So, we was trying to cut that off so we could get easy transition baskets.
The Western Kentucky men's basketball team has found plenty of success this year despite facing adversity all year long. After losing sophomore center Charles Bassey on December 7th, the Tops finished non-conference play with 2 straight losses before bouncing back to go 11-3 in conference play to capture second place before bonus play starts this weekend. The Hilltoppers' defense of E.A. Diddle has been nothing short of remarkable with an 11-1 record at home. The rising star for the Hilltoppers this season has been junior transfer Carson Williams, averaging 13.4 points and 6.3 rebounds per game while filling in for Bassey at the 5 spot. The Hilltoppers look to continue their conference success against Charlotte this Saturday at 6 p.m.
And Charles Bassey's recovery is headed in the right direction. Bassey suffered a left knee injury in the second half of the game against Arkansas on December 7th. Bassey later found out he had a tibial plateau fracture, resulting in having to travel to Houston, Texas for surgery. In weeks since, doctors have cleared Bassey to start walking without crutches and believe his recovery time is still about 4 to 7 months. It is still unclear what Bassey's future with WKU is going to look like. The former 5-star recruit declared for the NBA draft after last season before returning to the Hill for his sophomore year. And there's still time for Hilltopper fans to pack Diddle Arena. WKU men's basketball team has been awarded 2 more bonus home games. The first is tomorrow night at 6 against Charlotte, and the second is Thursday at 7 against La Tech. There will be 2 more away games after that against North Texas and FIU. The 18-8 Tops are currently ranked 2nd in Conference USA and just a game behind the leader, North Texas.
Last Thursday, the Lady Toppers took on the UTEP Miners and exploded offensively as they stayed hot from the field in conference play. The Lady Tops held a 26-11 lead after the first 10 minutes with Dee Givens and Raneem El-Jadewi accounting for 19 of the 26 first quarter points. UTEP outscored the Lady Toppers 54-53 the rest of the way, but it proved to be too little too late for the Miners as WKU notched their 7th straight victory, 78-65. This was the first time all year 4 Lady Toppers scored 15-plus points with Alexis Brewer and Merrill El-Bajigawad both scoring 17 and Givens El-Jadewi scoring 16 apiece. The Lady Toppers welcomed the Marshall Thundering Herd to Diddle Arena last night with a chance to increase their win streak to 9 games. Marshall knocked down 4 of 6 three-pointers to open the game, but Raneem El-Jadewi took over the end of the quarter to capture a 24-20 lead. A 21-8 run over the duration of the second quarter saw the Lady Tops walk to the locker room with a 17-point cushion over the Herd. The Lady Tops never let the Herd get close, capturing their 9th straight win with a 79-65 win. 10 Lady Tops saw action on the floor last night in a True team effort as they out-rebounded the Herd 38-22 with El Jadawi hauling in 12 boards alone. Whitney Creech led the Tops with 19 points in 36 minutes, followed by El Jadawi scoring 17 to go along with her big rebounding night. Up next, the Lady Tops will take on FAU on the road this Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. In Kentucky, 3 types of gambling are legal: horse racing, charitable gaming, and the state lottery. Reporter Olivia Eiler explores how legalized sports betting could help with the Commonwealth financially and why some people are opposed to it.
I first started betting on the 2018 NFL playoffs, and then it just kind of went from there. I probably bet every couple months just on the big events, and then I probably spend up to $200 a year.
In May 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the federal ban on sports betting, leaving it up to each state to decide their own law. The student you just heard from is still betting illegally because he's placing bets online in Kentucky. Others drive across the bridge and take their money to neighboring states that have legalized sports betting.
It's ridiculous to see Kentucky dollars and jobs that could be in Kentucky going across the river to Indiana and Ohio when we desperately need a new source of revenue in this state.
In Indiana, legalized sports betting started in September 2019. In just the first 4 months of legalized sports betting, Indiana has brought in more than $4 million in tax revenue. Part of the reason the program's been so successful is how easy it is. Betting is just a click or a tap away. The ease of mobile betting is exactly what worries some of the opponents of Kentucky House Bill 137, which would legalize, regulate, and tax sports betting.
Technology has moved it so that young people at the age of 18 can wager on almost any kind of sporting event at 24 hours a day.
The consultant group Commonwealth Economics estimates that House Bill 137 would generate $22.5 million in revenue every year, some of which would go to Kentucky's pension system. Opponents say legalized sports betting isn't worth it for just a drop in the bucket.
If it was used to pay off the $43 to $60 billion pension debt alone, it would take 1,954 years to 2,727 years, somewhere in that range, over 2,000 years.
But supporters say every little bit counts.
It's good for Kentuckians, it produces jobs, and it produces a stream of much-needed revenue. It's not the answer to everything, but it's a really good start.
In Indiana, Olivia Eiler, Extra Point.
House Bill 137 passed out of committee more than a month ago. Sponsors are trying to get more support before a full House vote. You can find your representative and let them know what you think of the bill by visiting legislature.ky.gov.
And Hilltopper baseball started the season off last Saturday with a 3-day series against Valparaiso University. WKU pitcher Michael Darrell Hicks had no problem readjusting after sitting out the 2019 season due to injury. Darrell Hicks only allowed 1 hit and no runs through 5 innings. WKU won Game 1 of the series 9-3. In Game 2 on Sunday, the Tops trailed for 5 innings until taking a 2-1 lead. The Tops extended the lead into the 6th inning in the rest of the game, winning 6-2. Valpo beat WKU in Game 3, 5-3 in extra innings. And the baseball team is off to a 3-1 start for the 2nd straight year. With more on the Hilltoppers' hot start, here's Tyler Eaton.
The WKU baseball team is on the hunt for their first winning season since 2014, and they've begun that pursuit with 3 wins in their first 4 games. The latest came Wednesday night in a 7-6 win over Murray State. The Hilltoppers jumped out to a 5-2 lead after the first inning, but the Racers rallied to cut the lead to 6-5 heading into the bottom of the 8th. It was then that outfielder Ray Zuberer connected with his 2nd home run of the season, a solo shot that was ultimately the deciding run.
Games are going to be close. You got to find a way to win the close ones, and give Murray State credit. They came back, they battled. That's a good lineup over there. They didn't give up, and we were fortunate to find a way to win today against a very good Murray State team.
The bats were the main concern for head coach John Pawlowski and the Hilltoppers coming into the 2020 season, considering the loss of 3rd-round MLB draft pick Jake Sanford. Despite that, the Hilltoppers scored 25 runs across their first 4 games, utilizing a more balanced offensive attack at the plate.
We have so many guys, 1 through 7, who even Jackson Sweeney, he's a sophomore, but he plays like he's a junior or senior. So it's good to have so many guys with so much experience in the lineup, and we'll be able to get the job done day in and day out.
Picked 7th in the preseason Conference USA Coaches Poll, WKU's aspirations extend far beyond that ranking. For the Hilltoppers, this non-conference slate is about building towards conference play.
Wright State's going to be an unbelievable challenge for us this weekend. But that's the reason why we schedule good teams, so it can help us as we move forward in conference play.
The Hilltoppers get 7 straight home games to start the 2020 season, and were 17-10-1 within the confines of Nick Dennis Field last year. For News Channel.
WKU continues their season-opening homestand with a 3-game series against Wright State. That series kicked off today, and they are currently in action right now. And stay tuned after the break. Find out what Tyson Helton is doing to amp up the Hilltopper football program and who he is bringing in.
It finally cracked 50 degrees outside, so the bats and gloves are out on the hill. We'll bring you the latest with the WKU baseball team after the break.
Tyson Helton came to WKU with a big task: rebuild the Hilltopper football program. In 2018, Mike Sanford led the Tops to an embarrassing 3-9 season, causing a head coaching change. Reporter Nick Brake has more on Helton's first season and how his bold ambitions became a reality.
WKU's 2019 football season was a historical comeback for the program. It began with an embarrassing loss to an FCS team, leaving uncertainty of where the season was heading. Just 2 weeks later, starting quarterback Stephen Duncan was sidelined for the remainder of the season with a foot injury, leaving the Tops with even more doubt. Already heading in the same direction as their disappointing 2018 campaign, first-year head coach Tyson Helton's team simply flipped the switch.
It's just not one game, it's a whole body of work over a season. And so when we look back over the body of work, we want to feel proud about what we put together.
The Hilltoppers would go on to win 8 of their final 10 games, including signature victories against reigning conference champs UAB, Army's triple option, and an SEC opponent Arkansas in enemy territory. The Tops would cap off an incredible season with a dramatic finish in the First Responders Bowl against Western Michigan. Though the Hilltoppers were unable to win Conference USA, the 2019 season certainly marked the beginning of a new era in program history. One hopefully with more success in the near future. For the Extra Point, I'm Nick Brake.
The Tops are certainly headed in the right direction under Helton, but how do you think they can carry this momentum throughout them for the next season?
Well, I think that it's going to start with the quarterback position, and obviously the Tops just had Ty Story, the graduate transfer from Arkansas, leave the program, and I think it's going to come back to Stephen Duncan's progression inside Tyson Helton's offense, because you're replacing a guy that had completed 70% of his passes, and which was top 10 in the country. So you got to ask yourself, if Stephen Duncan can progress as being a point guard and distributing the ball to the receivers more than being a guy who took some risks, took some shots downfield, and turned the ball over for the Tops whenever those opportunities weren't there. And then on the other side for Clayton White's defense, there was not a lot of talent to replace, because you get guys like D'Angelo Malone, Devin Key, Kyle Bailey. You get all those guys back. You lose a couple in the secondary, but they were doing a really good job of forcing turnovers on the other end and grabbing the football back for the offense. So I feel like that the defense going forward, they'll be all right, but it's all the questions are coming back to the offense, because you lose a lot of the offensive line too, as I mentioned, with Miles Pate and Parker Howell and all those, and Tyler Witt and all those guys who are graduating. So it's just going to come down to what they can do offensively, because of the defensive side, I think that they're going to be all right.
Sounds great. And then looking forward into football season, as Noah said, means looking forward to new players. On early signing day on December 18th, Topper football received 15 letters of intent, and since then the total number of signees has increased to 22. 14 of those coming from high school, 7 coming from junior college, and 1 being University of Tennessee transfer linebacker Will Ignat. Among the newcomers coming out of high school, 4 signed on National Signing Day a couple Wednesdays ago on February 5th. These athletes include Malachi Corley, Jaquez Evans, Quantavius Leslie, and Kendrick Simpkins. The 2020 signing class is split even of 11 offensive players and 11 defensive players. And the Hilltopper volleyball team climbed to new heights in 2019. The Tops went undefeated in conference play and brought home a regular season and tournament championship. Not only did the Hilltoppers break records on the court, they also shattered attendance records in the stands. In the second round of the NCAA tournament, over 5,000 fans packed Diddle Arena, setting the record for the largest home crowd in program history. WKU will look to continue their dominance next season after only losing 2 players to graduation.
2 WKU volleyball players will get the chance to don the red, white, and blue for the U.S. Women's Volleyball National Team and Collegiate National Team this summer. Outside hitter Paige Briggs and middle hitter Lauren Matthews will try out this weekend in Colorado Springs, Colorado, along with 93 other collegiate volleyball players. Briggs and Matthews look to join the ranks of former Lady Topper volleyball players who went national. Those women including Megan Algebright, Aquila Orr, Ashley Potts, and Rachel Anderson. Last season, Briggs was named CUSA Freshman of the Year, while Matthews was named CUSA Player of the Year in just her second season on the Hill. And coming up after the break, we'll tell you what's going on with the red-hot WKU softball team.
And you don't want to miss who the most heroic student athlete on the Hill is this week. Coming up after the break.
Welcome back, and now we send it over to Extra Point reporter Gina Kleinecrock to give us the latest on the softball team's matchup with Green Bay.
Complex awaiting the first pitch of the WKU Green Bay softball game. The red and white look to capitalize on their previous wins, leading the Lady Phoenixes 2-1 in their all-time series. Now last weekend, the Lady Tops came out on top with a 5-0 weekend at the Chattanooga Challenge, with a 2-0 victory over Bowling Green on Sunday. Senior Kelsey Akey closed out and saved the Tops, making that her 14th career save, which happens to be a WKU career record that is tied for 3rd among all active NCAA pitchers. The Lady Tops want to continue their 7-game win streak today at their own Hilltopper Classic, starting their next 14 games on the Hill. With the Extra Point, I'm Gina Kleinecroft.
And Sullivan just scored a grand slam for WKU. The score is now 4-2 at the top of the 5th. If the Hilltoppers can hold on for the win, they will advance to 9-2 on the year.
WKU track and field finished up their regular season schedule last week in Birmingham, Alabama at the Samford University Bulldog Invitational. At the Invitational, 2 Hilltopper pole vaulters ranked in the top 10. On the men's team, freshman Devon Montgomery soared through the air to clear 14 feet and 5 inches, tying for 7th place. On the women's side, freshman Grace Turner got 5th place, clearing just a 1/4 of an inch shy of 12 feet. Track and field will return to Birmingham this weekend for the Conference USA Indoor Championship. And here's the director of cross country and track and field giving a look into his expectations for Conference Championship.
Well, I think this weekend it's, for some of the kids, we're looking at definitely podium finishes, top 3, things like that. I think we've got a good handful of kids that should be expecting that. Everybody should be expecting to score. Everybody has that opportunity. And anytime at a conference championship, if you can go out and set a PR or your lifetime best, that's all we can hope for. And I think
Coming up on the Extra Point, watch as Whitney Creech channels her inner Carmelo Anthony on this week's Jaw Dropper.
And after the break, we'll get a quick 2-for-1 on WKU Hoops for this week's edition of Going for 2. As we mentioned to you earlier in the show, one Hilltopper was a one-man wrecking crew, averaging 19 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 2 steals per game last week. That man would be the one and only Jared Savage. Savage picked up 2 wins on CUSA Player of the Week to go along with his monster stat lines in the Top's Lone Star State Showdowns. Congratulations, Jared Savage. You are this week's Hero on the Hill.
And here we see Whitney Creech making a flawless and beautiful jump shot after avoiding a Marshall defender, flying through the air to block what she thought was a Creech 3-point attempt, only for Creech to say no thank you and finishes a beautiful jumper.
And after the break, we'll have Going for 2 coming up with all things WKU basketball.
And welcome back.
It's time to go Going for 2, and Julian, we're going to talk about some WKU hoops. And so what are you thinking about what the Hilltoppers are doing going into bonus play this weekend?
Well, definitely, I think it's great that we are awarded these, Western was awarded these bonus plays just for attendance purposes too. So I think it's going to be great. Jared Savage has been looking phenomenal the past couple games, and he and Carson Williams are really both stepping up for the team. So I'm really hoping that these bonus games, more fans can come out, packed it'll, and they can do their thing and really shine. Yeah, and it's great to see that they get the chance from the 2 spot to take chance of the 1
if they are able to sweep out this competition. And of course, it's going to be tough because they're going to have to take on North Texas on the road, who they barely escaped by back in January after they trailed by as much as, I believe it was 15 or 16 points in the second half as they lit it up for 50 points. And that's all going to have to start with Jared Savage and Carson Williams, as you mentioned, because Carson Williams has been the guy and been the glue guy pretty much for the Tops all year with his defense and his rebounding and then his scoring on the block, despite being 6'5". So it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do going forward.
And I absolutely agree. And then, like you said, with North Texas, that's our one of the games that we have after in bonus play. That's not one of our home games. So if the Tops can beat that, then Conference USA rankings will be switched up a little bit.
Yeah, and I believe that Tech is coming into next Saturday a little bit hungrier, Thursday, excuse me, as the last time they were here, the blackout was on, and they got thrown off the court completely. They weren't in the game for a single minute of the 40 minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see what LA Tech comes up with whenever they come back to Diddle to play against Western Kentucky once again.
All right, and that's all the time we have tonight. Thanks for tuning in to The Extra Point. And as always,
it's up
and it's good.